Good evening, everyone. Welcome to AI Creators Program Day 1. Hope everyone started setting up the development environment. So, today it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker today. We are incredibly fortunate to have with us Tarun Gade, a distinguished professional in the tech industry. Tarun currently serves as a backend developer in Keka Technologies, where he has been making significant strides in the realm of software development. With a robust background in cutting edge technologies, Tarun specializes in .NET, Angular, React, and Next.js. We are excited to hear from Tarun today and gain insights from his experiences and knowledge. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Tarun Gade. Thank you.
Hi. That's a lovely introduction. So, thanks for having me today. By the way, can you hear me? So, you can hear me, right? Hello? Yes, okay,
Yes, sir, you're
cool.
audible.
So, uh, so I'm sure like some of you have at least tried setting up the dev environment. But yeah, so I'll start from the basics. Uh, so, give me a second. I'll share my screen, right? Yes, I hope my screen is visible. Yes. Is it visible? My screen is visible. Okay. I hope it is visible. So, okay. Okay, so let us start with why we are here, right? So our agenda would be so today we will understand about client server architecture and and how requests go from client to server, and I'll talk about what why we use browsers and set up a create React app in your local, right? So let's start with what is internet. Every day, right? Uh, Internet made our life easier. So internet is nothing but a such systems, right? Systems of computers communicating with one another. So to be able to communicate, there should be some protocols, right? So suppose you have your uh, mobile. So your mobile is a computer. So you have your mobile phone, and suppose you feel hungry, right? What you do, you open app and you order something from Swiggy or Zomato or any other food app, right? Um, so what made this possible is uh, so there are at the back, right? So at the back, so there is some request going from your mobile to saying the Swiggy servers or Swiggy app saying that somebody is requesting for an order, and the order is placed and so on and so forth. So in this mechanism, we have to understand the client server architecture. So we have a client, that's your mobile, and we have it's a computer, right? And we have a server. which essentially are Swiggy servers. So server is nothing but servers, our clients are nothing but computers. So servers are essentially computers that serves your request. And these requests, so you need to say when two people are communicating or two systems are communicating, right? uh, Suppose two people are communicating, you would have some protocols, as in you would say your friend, bro, I only know English, so try to communicate with me in English. So similarly, in the while communicating between the systems also, or between the computers, you say, so these are the protocols that you need to follow while communicating with me. So the protocols are, so there are different type of protocols. HTTP protocol, there are FTP, file transfer protocol, and there are many other, right? So the majority one that we would be using, like 90% of in the systems, are HTTP protocols, right? So hypertext transfer protocol. So uh, so essentially, when you want to order something, or when you are asking for data to a server, so what is asking data to a server? Suppose I just go to google.com, uh, right? And when I, so this is a browser, right? So when you can open the dev tools of a browser. So when you go to this network, right, and when you just asks for, okay, this google.com, right? So when you ask for, what does this google.com contain, so then the server, or the Google servers returns you with some data, right? How does it return? So these are HTTP protocols, right? And when you request the Google server, so what is there here, so it will return some content essentially. um, so when you check what it returns, right, a response, and you would find it as HTML. So why? So because the browsers only understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So so when you request any of the server, so here the server being Google, when you say Google, so why would we use Google? So we use Google because we want to ask some query, right? So we'll say, Google, I have this query. So so give me your homepage. You'll request google.com, and it returns you with some bunch of HTML, right? Which browser understands, and it renders it in this way. Okay. So in the back, uh, everything is a bunch of requests going to servers, and servers responding with the data, right? Data to the client. Now client can be anything, so you can open Google in your mobile, right? Or you can open it in any browser, you can open it in Chrome. So there are different clients may be differ, but the server remains the same, and it serves the requests. So moving forward, uh, so what is the most common client that we use? So if you buy a new phone, or if you buy a new laptop, every computer, or a mobile comes with a inbuilt browser, right? So so browsers are the common clients, and they serve the requests of the user. Now, coming to what I talked about it earlier, is browsers only understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So when you see any of the requests, right? So it either, okay, it contains a bunch of media files also, but media files to display the images and all, but it essentially understands HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So so you might ask me, okay, Tarun, what you are saying is, so when browsers, that is a Chrome browser that I've opened, only understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then I can just write code entirely. Or I can just build this website which you see, right? So google.com is a so this web page, you can build it in your local. Yes, essentially you can. So what if I do right click and just say save as? Okay, it is, you can essentially download the code of this, which is available in your system, because when you request Google, right, it gives HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it is stored in your machine only. So any point, if you want, you can download them, and you can just open, you know, open, this web page in local. So now we are hitting google.com, right? If you were to have all the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that is returned by the Google server in your local, that is in your machine, then you can essentially show this page in local. So how do we do that? Suppose I go into a folder and I just create a new folder, my first web page, right? So let me open this folder in a code editor or IDE. So you can open it in any of your favorite IDE, but I prefer VS Code. So let me open it in VS Code. So what earlier I said is browsers only understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and at the basic of it, they understand HTML, right? So let me create a file named index.html. Okay, so now this is a HTML file. This your browser can understand, right? So let me write some HTML. Okay, okay. So let me just put a H1 tag here. I know some of you might know HTML, but let me just write it here. So now I have saved it. So I've written some HTML. Now, when I go to here, so it by defaultly says, the application it will open. So, as in Windows, it is by defaultly open in Edge. It is showing me the Edge. So, but I can right click on it and open it in any of the browser, right? So, I'm opening it in Google Chrome, right? So, when I open in Google Chrome, you can see what I've written here. So, I've written a hello world. Now I can see the hello world here. So your browsers, so this index.html that you have written, this is in your local. So here, if you see this web page is coming from the servers of Google, but this one is coming from your local. So browser can understand the HTML in your local. So and we also said it also understands CSS. So let's also create that file. So we have CSS. Okay. Not CSS. And we also said it understands so we also understand sorry, okay, browser also understand JavaScript, right? So so HTML, we use it to structure the website, right? So when you say you want H1 here, so you say I have different blocks in my web page. Like suppose if you go here, you say, Google is my logo, so this is a block I need to represent my logo, and I have this block. You can literally inspect it in your system as well. Like if I go here, right, it just says it's a text area. So this text area is for entering your query to this website. So it is like differentiated into different blocks, and these blocks are differentiated by the tags. So we call them as tags in HTML, right? So we have div tag here, style tag. So there are many tags, right? So similarly here I've written a tag which is a H1 tag. So there are, you can study about them, right? And online, just Google for HTML tags. Let's search here HTML tags, and there are different tags that you can read about. So yeah, so we structure the web pages using HTML, and we give the styles using the CSS. So CSS also has some kind of keywords which we have to use to be able to make the websites beautiful. Like suppose here, right, you have a hello world. Now your favorite color is green. You want to make all the text to green color. So what you do is like you um, so at a high level you have to change this text color to green, right? So you introduce a class. Now, what are classes in CSS? Read about them. So this class only gives you a 10% of knowledge, so you should explore 90% of it, right? So now you write a class in CSS. So suppose you say text green, right? And this is a syntax for writing a class in CSS. Now you say color is green color. Okay, so now you have named a class which with this property color property as green. Now you have to give it to this text which is displaying it here, right? So you have to display this hello world in green color. So what you say is I have to give it a class. So what is the class name that I have written is text green. So you just give it. Now when I save it, it should ideally reflect, but why it's not reflecting? Because we to said you have index.html and we have styles.css, but we never established a relation between these index.html and css, right? So now where can we do that? So you can if you have any query, right, just you can get the answer by googling. So how do we do that in html is in the head tag. You have a head tag. You can link, like, okay, so suppose let me go to the google.com, right? So when I go to google.com and you say, suppose I pick this, uh, let's pick a this input tag. So where does these styles, or suppose when I am like hovering on it, right, it is getting outlined or it is popping up, or it's when I go to it the pointer is changing into cursor. So how are these styles coming to it? So when you go into its head tag, right, you should find the styles that it is using. So similar to this fashion where we are establishing a connection between the styles we have written in styles.css and the html in index.html, they might have written their styles. Now let us check if we could find it. Hmm. So if you just see this link, right, so it is a link that is linking the some css. How can I say that is a css? But it says, right, type is text css, and href, the link to this styles is present over here. And so we give this to linking. So let's do that in the same. So how do we link it? So we use a link tag and we just say what type of file is it. So it is a css file. And where is it present? In this case it is hosted on their servers, some google servers, but in our case it is present in our local machine, right? So it is present in styles.css. So styles.css, nice. And we also have to say this attribute which says it as it is a style sheet, which is it is a css, right? Now when you do that, it should essentially, okay, it's style.css. So let me correct it. When I reload, its color changes to hello world, right? So now we have linked css to this index.html. Okay, and what all are the other things? So we have, okay, Okay, so what are the things we have done? So we have structured our web page. We have added some styles, giving it a green color. Now we can also write a logic. So what is logic? Like suppose when I go to Google and when I click on it, right, it is redirecting or something is happening at so you're giving logic to it, right? So more formally, when you do something on HTML tags, right, it should run a logic. Like suppose if I search for something and search, like suppose I search for, what is HTML or HTML tags. Now, when I click enter, what is happening is there's a logic running. What it will do is like it will take this query, which is HTML tags that I've entered, and it should query the Google server for the results. So this logic goes into the index.html, right? No, now I'm sure how to link, index or how to link JavaScripts to HTML. Again, you can, in the case of Google, you can just find it in the sources. So you can just go to the head tag and you can find these script tags that they have written, where they contain the logic for it, right? So similarly, in the same way, we also link this JavaScript. So JavaScript is a programming language essentially. So we write something here, like suppose in JavaScript I'm writing. So we have a console in the browser, right? We have a console. As I'm saying it right, key print something to the print something to the console. So this is how you write in JavaScript that prints something to the browser or browser's console or console wherever the JavaScript runs. Now, how to link again this index.js, which is a JavaScript, to this HTML? You go with script tag, right? And when I go to the application, when I open the console and reload, okay, there's some, maybe it's not a self-closing tag. Now, uh, so now you might say, Tarun, in this case, we have only one link, but here you could kept two tags. So essentially, link is a self-closing tag, but a script is not. And what is a self-closing tag? You have to read about it, right? So yeah, so I have linked the JavaScript to this HTML, and when I reload, I can see the hello world in the console. So cool. So on a high level, so what we got is like the browsers can only understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we also seen that servers would serve us with the HTML which browsers can understand. Now moving forward, we need to understand about Node.js. So what is Node.js? So Node.js is a runtime environment for JavaScript. So I have introduced you to JavaScript, right? So JavaScript is a programming language. And what is a Node.js? Node.js is a runtime environment. So it is an environment where JavaScript can run. Now, so you want to ask, well, Tarun, does that mean um, your browser is also a Node.js or Node.js environment? Well, you can kind of say that because your browsers can understand JavaScript, right? So if the same code which I have written in here, which is console something to the JavaScript console, you can just write it in the console as well, right? Like if I suppose open the console and write a JavaScript here, which it doesn't allow me, so I have to keep the flag. So now it allows me. So when I write, you can also write the code in the browser's console. When I write it, it does what I say, right? I said to print hello world into the console, and it did. So browsers are also a kind of runtime environment for JavaScript, right? So yeah. And how do you install Node.js in your local, right? So Node.js. So when you go to this, you can just directly download Node.js from here, right? Which I already did. So my system, if I go to my command prompt and did node version, right? If you have successfully installed Node.js in your system, it should, when you do the Node.js -v command, it should give out the version you contain. So that means I have Node.js. Now I can also run the JavaScript here console. So I've said open the Node.js console, so it has opened. So I can just write, um, you know, JavaScript here. So yeah, so it's an runtime environment which we can write the JavaScript in. We can run the JavaScript in. So what is the use of Node.js? Now, so as I said, when we have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, your browsers can understand it. But uh, so as so what brilliant or intelligent developers have done is they made us our lives easy by writing libraries or frameworks on top of JavaScript. Yeah. So so what they have done is they have written libraries. So libraries are essentially, or frameworks for that matter, they will abstract out difficult parts of code for us to make our lives easy, right? So so similarly, so what Node.js does is Node.js comes. So when you download Node.js in your system, it comes bundled with npm. So what is npm? Again, Google them. What are they? So no. So npm is a node package manager, right? So there are different packages that very brilliant developers, intelligent developers have written, and you just have to use the code without reinventing the wheel, right? So suppose if I go to Google's website, right? You can just see similar buttons here and there, like this Google search and I'm feeling well button, they look similar, right? I'm sure they might have used same code, as in they might have written one button somewhere and they are using it here twice. Why? Because to reduce the amount of code the browser gets. So at the end of the day, browser gets only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So somehow, if you minimize the uh, data that is transferred from server to client, right? That is good for us, right? So these small things, or have been implemented, and they exist as packages, and you can install any package um, that is available here. Like, so we have React, so we can install them, right? Cool. Moving forward, so so let us initialize the empty Node.js project in our machine, right? So again, creating a folder, or let me just go to the same folder. And if you want to initialize a empty Node.js project in your local, so what you do is npm init init. Okay, let me do that again. Okay, so let me create a folder and initialize it there, right? New folder, Node.js project. Just go to Node.js project, npm net. Okay, the utility. Okay, so it is asking for me to enter the package name. So the project name, so let it be what it is. Just enter. So what it did is, so when I open the this project, it has written or created a file named package.json. So let me open this it in uh, VS Code. So when I open this it in VS Code, uh, folder with package.json. Now, what is a package.json? So it just says that your directory is a Node.js project, and it has bunch of things saying, the name of the project, the version we are using, and etc. Um, right. So you have initialized a empty Node.js project. Now you can write JavaScript here by just index by creating a file named index.js. It's same thing that we did there, but we are just abstracting it out into a separate Node.js project. Now here also you can write a JavaScript code here, and to be able to run it, you just do node index.js, and which it runs the JavaScript in the index.js, and it prints out the output, right? So yeah, so what else other things we can do? As I said, uh, there are different packages created by the developers, right? You can just um, pull the packages or the code that I have written into your system, right? So what you do for that is, suppose you have a React only, or you have any other live a package that you want to uh, use it in your uh, use it in your project, right? You can just do npm install React or whatever the project it is. So what it will do is, like, it will go to the npm, the node package manager will go to npm, and it will pull all the code into node modules. So what is node modules? So as I said, the code is not written by you, it is written by someone. So when you do npm install, it fetches the code that other developers have written and puts it into the node modules. Now if you go to package.json, right, and earlier, if you see from earlier, we have a change that in dependencies we have added React. So that's how you see what are the packages you use. So we go to package.json and we see what are the dependencies in it, and we get to know what are the packages that we use in this Node.js project. Now, if I just go to the folder, if I see the size of it, right? Let me just see the size of it. Properties. So it is 333 KB, which is more compared to all the other files. Like if I were to install other uh, packages also, which are very big, because it contains more code, right? So what we do is, right, we don't, if you were to share your Node.js project with anyone, you don't share these node modules. Why? Because they can install or they can get the node modules just from the package.json. So they need to just do npm I, and they can install the dependencies in the package.json, because transferring all of these node modules would be difficult, right? Because it's a lot of size. They can get the code just from the package.json. So that's how it is. Mm, so for any repository, for any Node.js repository. Uh, if you want to see what are the packages that they are using, you can just look at the dependencies and get to know. And there are many open source um, projects that are maintained in Node.js. So you can just go to any open source platform and go to GitHub. So now this is a project. Now, if I have to see what are the packages that he's using in this project, I can just go to the package.json and just can see the dependencies or dev dependencies that he's using. So he's using different libraries known as bcrypt, body parser, cors, and these are all the, he's using Express, Mongoose as a database. And you can just look at any of the package.json and get to know, okay, these are the packages that they are using, right? So that said, let us move to creating a React. So let us understand what is React. Now, as I said, to make our lives easier, uh, brilliant developers have written libraries and frameworks, right? So React is one such library. So um, so how can you create an empty React project in your local, right? So we will. So there are. So React follows a folder structure, or in this case, while we have seen HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, we just contain three files in a same folder, right? So similar to this, React also follows a folder structure. Now, if we want, we can manually, as we have created package.json and this index.js file, we can manually set it up. But if you want to have a running React application, that is, you want your application to be bootstrapped, that is, you want the folder structure, and you want it a running React application. So there are different methods to set it up. So one of them is create React app. So there is a create React app, which bootstraps a new React application uh, for you. And there is also, you can also set it up using white. So white is